social media program and social media outreach program as part of our promotional campaign strategy and as part of our information or one of our information windows with respect to disseminate information to the general public. Let me say a special good week to you all. I know you all had a lovely weekend. For those that are tuned in, we want to welcome God to Real Talk. I know that is the expectation when a Monday comes that you are tuned in. We have with us, obviously, our political leader, Dr. Fontaine, who is an economist by profession and the political leader of the United Workers' Party. And, we're going to explore a number of issues here relating to taxation today, because it's very important that, we look at some of the, tax policies of the government. See what it is that we as a party put together and to come forward to actually allow the Dominican people to enjoy. Before that, we'll have our talk, usually with Dr. Thomson, Fontaine, what has been happening. And so we want to welcome you, we want to welcome everyone, and those of you who are listening via the different social media platforms. And it's a pleasure to have you today. For those who have lost loved ones, we extend you and to tell you that, all is not lost. So we have work to do. Fontaine, welcome again. I know you have been busy over the weekend, and I know you have been in it, hard worker. You are in touch with a number of community constituencies. And it's your constituency itself. What can you tell the listeners that have been happening to you?
Good evening, good night, and to many listeners already that are tuned in. It's great to be back live on Real Talk. The last 2 Mondays we had recordings, but it's good that we are back with our audience on this very important issue of tax reform, one of our major pillars of our 10 pillars that we plan as a party to put forward to the Dominican public as we work very hard on ensuring that we have a better Dominica going forward. So this weekend was, of course, spent on the ground with meeting the people in various communities on Friday, Saturday, but yesterday and Sunday I was actually in the beautiful village of Montjean, that the village on the hill. And we basically had the opening of our domino competition. That's a fantastic time for community. As you know, so dominoes are very, very popular in Dominica these days, and everybody seems to be playing it. That's the sport. That's the game you'll find every single day across the island. And so we are bringing together teams from several villages. Last year we had the inaugural event of this kind where we had teams mainly from Grand Fort, River Civic, Montjean, as well as from La Plaine. But this year we're extending. We have teams from Good Hope, from Delices, from La Plaine, Grand Fort, River Civic, Toronto, Castibros. So it's a good thing that's happening. A lot of people heard about the league last year. They saw it on Facebook or the social media, and felt that they needed to get a bit of the action. Because what it does, it brings together community. It brings together, and it's a wonderful time. People have good conversation. You have persons, not only those who are playing, but the crowds that come to look on and to be a part of it. And it's something that we are trying to
interaction.
Yeah. So in fact, I'll tell you what, so I have a very short clip that I would like to show our audience. Of what I'm talking about to get a sense as to the kind of vibe that was there yesterday as we started, as we had the opening of the domino competition. It's called the Dr. Thomson Fontaine Southeast Domino Competition. And so I'm going to...
This is the beginning of the Domino League. You can see.
Yes, so that gives you a sense, it pulls together actually, people from all walks of life and all political persuasions. There's no politics involved there. It's just a time for community getting together, and the vibe is good. It's a good vibe. It's a nice atmosphere. People meeting each other, interacting, talking, discussing around the game of dominoes, and of course, as you know, domino is strategic. Although increasingly these days, the different kind of signs and so on that the guys find very creative ways. I mean, I consider myself to be a very competent domino player. I played a lot of dominoes in my youth growing up, and still quite good at it. But I'm finding increasingly that even just playing straight, you're at a disadvantage because these guys have different ways of signaling and so on. And it makes it a bit challenging if you're trying to win. So I played yesterday,
Yes,
and I had some fun in that as well. And it was great. It was great. It was
you
great.
actually call it good
No man, no, I'm a
domino.
serious player. So I've reached a point in dominoes now where I can tell you what dominoes you have in your hand. If you have two dominoes remaining, I can tell you what the two dominoes you have in your hand. Yeah, based on the way the game. I think just by looking at the game and thinking of who plays what when. It's a very technical game. But
I
some
used
people
to be like
fall
that at
that
one
out and
time.
just try
Yeah,
to, signal and so on, signal what end to play against and that kind of thing. But
I
yeah,
used to be like
but
that at one time. I used to be like that at one time. I just love the cut. No, it doesn't mean like a bomb back, but it's good
yes,
medicine. What medicine for it for? A little atmosphere medicine for the mind and so. What you think, yourself. Good maybe
it's
as a
great. It's
therapy,
great.
for therapy, sort of therapy for people. So that socializing thing, that's what I want to understand you for that. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
absolutely, absolutely. So that's what we're about. So it's about reaching out to the various communities, and we have been doing a lot of that lately as a party. We had a small break on our public meetings. We are going to restart that in the month of June. We're going to go back again on the ground with the public meetings, with reaching people, because at the end of the day, I think people are looking forward to that message from the United Workers' Party. And the biggest thing they're asking us is, what are you going to do differently from the Labour Party? What are you going to do to improve our lives? What are you going to do to take care of the high cost of living, to take care of the high duties on the port, to take care of the low wages, low output in the country, those kinds of issues? The kind of things that people are asking you. And I'm very happy for that we are moving away from the politics of MIPWE, just criticizing people and pulling people down. I think we have reached a stage where we are beginning to mature better in our politics, where we are forcing even the government now to focus on the issues, because they know now they can't just come and not campaign on any kind of policy or any kind of issue and just give people handouts to vote for them. I think they're realizing that is becoming very difficult to do or to maintain. And so, it's good that we are putting a new emphasis in the politics. And that's one of the things that I bring as the leader of the party, of the United Workers' Party. That's one of the things that I bring to the public, is that freshness, if you like, in the politics, a different way to bring people to your side. And it's working. It's working. Increasingly, persons on the other side are joining us. In fact, I will tell you, one of the gentlemen there last night at the Domino, he was the president, and listen to this, he was the president of the Mao constituency Labour Party for 20 years. And then, and he was there with the Dominoes yesterday in his blue, telling everybody know that he's done in the Labour Party, that he's now fully on board with the United Workers' Party. And so, those kinds of things we are seeing increasingly, and that the Labour Party supporters are looking to see, and are coming on board in good numbers. And to me, that's very exciting. I think that is that the fact that we're able to attract persons from the other parties. It speaks well to our party. It speaks well to our chances at the next election. And that is why, we continue to gain good momentum on the ground. And I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, very good. Because it's no doubt, though, you are community, you represent community, and you bring community. And that is very important. That I'm not surprised that this individual came because a lot of people are fed up with this. And that is what we know. I'm not going to bring you have brought a new sort of dimension. You actually ground with your team and you actually build and connect and interact with people. So you collect a lot of information and you know what you're talking about. And that's what it's all about. Because notwithstanding a number of persons are still somewhat sort of forward to come forward. But I know a lot of people interact with you and you have a lot of information. And so you know exactly where you are going in the discussions and you know what it is that are most important for the people with respect to bringing economic restoration to them. So, Doc, let me just congratulate you on that. I know that you have done a lot. The other communities and the other constituencies are very much active in sport as well. The Lappin constituency, like Ken Joseph and his team and all the other guys, Jack Q and them. So it's a lot of guys doing a lot of work and the community as well.
Yes, yes. So indeed, and as you talk about the work, one of the important things that we engage in, of course, is identifying candidates for the various constituencies. And I'm very happy to note that increasingly persons are putting up their hands and say they want to be a part of the United Workers' Party, Team Dominica. They want to be a part of this move to bring change to Dominica. And it's very, very exciting. So we have named, we are continuing to name candidates. And very soon we should have another 2 or 3 candidates to present to the public. So it's a very exciting time, new faces, fresh faces we're going to see. And that to me is very, very exciting. We are looking at persons that can offer, something to the public. And I'm very happy that in that regard, the party is moving along very, very, very nicely. Notwithstanding, I'm sure persons would have heard all of the different back and forth on social media in the last few days. That does not define the party. What defines the party is a record of being on the ground, is a record of doing the hard work, with respect to getting persons to confirm, with respect to getting the message out on the 10 pillars to shared prosperity for all Dominicans. And people are listening. And to me, that is the exciting part. We have a lot of noise, a lot of different things going on, about this and the other and so on. And to me, that's just noise, really. The important thing is that we have persons who are looking to the United Workers' Party to be that change in Dominica. And we have to lead that change. We have to lead that effort. We have to move forward confidently, boldly, but with the understanding that we can only go as fast as the Dominican public will allow us to. And importantly, they're giving us that support. And so, it's good time. It's great times for the party. Wonderful times for the party, indeed.
Well, yes, indeed, and I'm encouraged, and a lot of people saying they're encouraged. One person already saying they're moving away from the politics of midway, and this is saying that is Dr. Thomson, and one person is already saying very encouraging, and it's a fact because while for sure the atmosphere is conducive for communication and to relay information, that is what we are using the opportunity. While it is less politically noisy, to ensure that we can educate people and to bring forth to them what is really needed to transform their lives, to bring up the quality of life to Dominicans, and that's what Dominicans expect of us, and that's what we continue to do. But it's important that we are going to talk about taxing, and we're going to be humble of it so that we can get to the point. Because one of the things that one of the issues that we have that is really burning Dominicans is the whole idea of taxation. Taxes are essential because they fund public goods, services, and infrastructure that functions in society, and society relies on it, but individuals cannot easily afford, or manage on your own. And so taxes are important. While it is important, the government needs taxes. In fact, that's one of the ways that government collects its taxes. Through revenue for taxes, we need to pay that so that government can continue to do good and services and to do infrastructural work and so. Yes, but we are in a society, particularly for charges. We have the environmental surcharge, the excise tax, you're looking at import duty, customs tax, including value-added tax. It has been concerned for a number of Dominicans know that the one of the 10 pillar plan, one of the 10 pillar plan that we have is that we are ensuring that this area of taxation, we need to look at tax reform and see how best we can actually transfer some of this tax to back to the in the pocket of some of the people of the Dominican population, so that they can have more disposable. What do you think about this? What is the approach? What sort of direction we should go to ease up the people that in this regard?
Yeah, so we have been looking at the tax regime in Dominica, and it's a tax regime that is extremely punitive. What I mean by that is it's punishing the people of Dominica. So, for example, we have very high VAT, value added tax, which means on every item that you consume in Dominica, you pay VAT to the government of Dominica of 15%. In addition to that, if you're working beyond a certain amount of income in this country, you pay anywhere from 20 to 40% tax, income tax. And then you have the corporation tax that is paid by the businesses. Then there are also a number of other duties and fees that you pay. So, for example, every time you go to buy a gallon of petrol, you pay $3.50 per gallon. And that, as you know, has added to the price. And last week we spoke at length about the big impact of these high fuel prices that we're having now in Dominica, where a gallon of gas is approaching $20. And that's because the government has $3.50 on that. And then there are a number of a range of different duties and fees and so on that are paid on the port, including a $10,000 charge that is placed on you. In addition to that, you have other, like when you're paying for your electricity, there is that surcharge that is passed on to the consumer, where you pay for the cost of the petrol, you pay now for the cost of the geothermal that is distributed amongst the consumers of electricity, and everybody has to cough something up to pay for those things. So you have a multiplicity of taxes and fees and charges and all of that, and make it extremely difficult now for the person to move forward. So, for example, if you're a government worker and you are making a certain number, let's say you're making, for argument's sake, $3,000. After you pay your 20% tax on that, everything that you pay, you have to pay a 15% on it. So at the end of the day, it's almost like a double kind of taxation. And that's one of the reasons why a country like Antigua has decided that they remove the income tax. So there's zero income tax in Antigua, and you only pay the VAT. In Dominica, we have the VAT plus the income tax. You have a situation for the businesses where they collect VAT on behalf of the government, because when you buy, you pay the business that VAT, and you hope it's passed on to the government. At the end of every year, they pay a 25% surcharge. And in fact, this was just today, actually, as I made my rounds in Roseau, I went to one of the business places, and they were indicating to me that there is an issue currently of this high corporation tax, and they were asking whether or not we'll tackle that. And my response was that yes, in fact, that's one of our 10 pillars to shed prosperity, because there is a relationship between stifling taxes and low output. Already, the Dominican economy is not growing as it should, and on top of that, you have these high taxes, so it makes it extremely difficult. So, within our 10 pillars, we are promising to bring relief to the Dominican public. You may recall, for example, that under the United Workers' Party government between 1995 and 2000, the government introduced a duty free. There was an incentive on building materials, and a number of individuals used that opportunity to build their homes. Even today, as we make our rounds of the villages and the communities, people are saying, I was able to build during that time. I saved $100,000, $200,000. It is significant savings that, that you can save, that you'll be allowed to save if there is that process. Okay, so we are looking at some of those things that can be done. How do you stimulate the construction sector? How do you stimulate small business growth? How do you stimulate the various businesses in Dominica? These are some of the things that we're looking at, and importantly for us is that focus on the tax regime in Dominica. So we are saying that so it is way too high, but we're also saying that we're examining the whole tax system. There'll be a comprehensive tax reform that we will do that will allow the people of Dominica to get relief so that there is more money in the pockets of the Dominican public, more money to spend, more money to stimulate growth within the economy.
Okay, certainly. And it's very important because end of the exercise, and I wanted to correlate that with exports as well because while it is that we giving we hope to give relief and we give relief for particularly as you mentioned corporate tax, it's very high 25%. Yeah, but we need an economy that is very buoyant, an economy that we need to and bring in much foreign direct investment here, or much direct foreign exchange into Dominica. And we have target projects that we can bring in projects here that can attract foreign direct investment. And that is something that we should not the concessions have been given and we are not looking elsewhere to bring it back. Because it's one thing to give taxes, to free up the people on taxes, but you need to get back some of the revenue somewhere else. And so that is what we need to. We have to sort of collaborate and to bring things together. It is just not a plan of doing one thing, it's doing a plan of giving back at the same time generating income so that what is given back is not felt from the government first and the people themselves will be still happy. So I wanted to correlate that.
So you're absolutely correct because one of the things that people ask, the first question most people ask when they say, okay, we're looking to reduce taxes, we're looking to make it easier for people. They say, but if you reduce taxes, you're going to lose revenues, and where the revenue is going to come from.
That's correct.
So it is two sides of a coin. We will not just reduce taxes, but on the other hand, and that's what I take time to explain to the Dominican public, is that we are growing the economy on the other hand. Okay, so we will not have a stagnating economy. The average rate of growth over the past 15 years for the Dominican economy is 1.5%. That's extremely low. Okay, but if your economy is growing at 6, 7, 8%, then you're making a lot more revenues, even at lower taxes. All right, so or lower tax rates, and that's very important to note. So the plan then is to stimulate exports. And when you think of exports, the first thing that jumps to mind is obviously the agriculture sector. And again, today, and I was talking to a gentleman, in fact, the fire officer. He says, I've been working in the fire service for 30 something years, and I cannot believe that his government abandoned agriculture. And he was telling me the only thing that needs to be done is to stimulate the agriculture sector and to do something with the water industry. Build 2, 3, 4 water factories that can do water and or agriculture. And he said, we're good. So I said, but you have been listening to my 10-pillar plan. He said, no, I'm just thinking, I'm no fancy thing, but I'm thinking about that's what needs to be done because we were there before. And that's exactly what we aim to do. Improve the agriculture outlook for Dominica, go into agriculture in a very hard and profound way that will transform not only the lives of the farmers and those who are working directly in it, but we are going to create jobs for young people in marketing, in advertising, in coming up with creative ideas for the businesses, in accounting, in computers, or in computer works and so on. So there are a number of jobs that are going to come out as an offshoot of this agriculture focus. And of course, we have talked at length about having factories that can produce, factories that can use our raw material, so that we don't just export our raw material. So now the factory to make the chips is now in Dominica. The factory to make the agro-processing, to can the juice and the different mangoes in particular. Mangoes are on my mind because as you drive around oh my goodness.
Yes.
Literally, and this year appears that it's one of the biggest years in terms of output of mangoes. The trees that I see this year, they look like they're doing a lot more in terms of bearing, and the 80-90% of those mangoes are wasted. They simply fall to the ground, they rot, and that is it. And you have a lot of not only mangoes, but you have that in different areas, a lot of wastage because we have a processing. So you want to add processing to your agriculture, and that will open up other avenues for the private sector because now the average sector, private sector individuals can come into that space, do the factories, and then you have, as a government, you have the incentives that will allow them to set up agro processing facilities in Dominica. And there are different types of incentives that can be given. So one of the incentives, of course, are tax holidays. So we say, for example, for your first 5 years, zero corporation tax. For your first 5 years, we're going to waive the VAT that you pay on your raw materials. Stuff like that will allow, if you're going to build a factory, we will waive the taxes. I saw a proposal an individual put forward to build a modest factory. And as part of the was $200,000 out of $1 million.
We are not hearing you. I think we have
looking at. These are some of the things that we are ensuring that we can address. And so it is a plan that we have, not only, as I said, to look at reducing the tax regime in Dominica, but absolutely a plan to grow the economy. And it's going to be export-led growth. In other words, we're going to lead in that area. We've talked about the water industries, incentives again for water bottling plants, incentives for bulk water exports, incentives for different industries that can arise out of our essential oil industry. These are some of the positive things that we are crafting, that we are planning, and that we're very excited about. So that when we talk about reducing the duties, when we talk about reducing and doing away with the levies, so we have already given the Dominican public our word that on day one we will remove that $10,000 levy that is so onerous on the people of Dominica. We will do away with it on day one, even before the comprehensive unveiling of our tax reform. That will be done away with. Because by doing that, tremendous relief will already go to persons willing to bring vehicles into Dominica, persons who just want to do. And again, in our conversations with the young people of Dominica, many of them are telling me, I'm an office worker. I just want a little ride to move around Dominica on weekends to go out to the different parts of the country, to see the country, a little ride to move around. There's an activity in town I can take part and so. But they said I can't touch it because of this $10,000 levy. And so we are giving the commitment, in particular to the young people of Dominica, that this levy will be gone on day one. That is just part of a broader tax reform plan that we have. We'll review the VAT rates, we'll review the income tax rate, we'll review the thresholds at which you pay income taxes, we'll review the corporate income tax rate. We will do all of that with a view to ensuring that there is some relief to the Dominican public. But all of that, and I keep stressing that, so that when we are quoted us right, we are saying that as we reduce on the tax burden to the Dominican public, at the same time, we'll be growing the economy. We'll be investing in agriculture. We'll be investing in our people. We'll be giving incentives to the private sector. Our private sector, for example, in Dominica is extremely small right now. Most of the employment is within government. That has to change. The private sector should have the lion's share of employment. The small businesses, the medium-sized businesses, these are the ones that should be employing people in Dominica. The government should be streamlined. It should be streamed down to essential services provided to the Dominican public. But people should be working within the private sector. And that is where we're going to focus on. So it's a very comprehensive plan that we have for the revitalization or bringing back the agriculture sector, bringing back our economy, pushing growth to 6-7% of GDP, ensuring that the people of Dominica get opportunities, they get relief from the taxes, removing unwanted duties, We will re-examine this whole issue of the $3.50 that is now placed on gasoline. When we said we'll have automatic triggers, when the prices go beyond a certain level, it will be caught. And so these are some of the incentives that we'll provide. This is a work in progress. We are crunching the numbers, we are doing the calculations, but I can show you at the end of the day, central to that policy, central to that pillar of comprehensive tax reform is to ensure that the taxes that the Dominican public pay are fair, to ensure that there is no double taxing, that after you pay income tax to the government, you'll have to pay another tax by way of VAT and so on, ensure that there are no double taxation happening in Dominica, so that more money is in the hands of the Dominican public, which then allows them to be able to spend, which then allows them to be able to stimulate economic growth within our country.
Yes, and this is very important and fundamental, and I'm happy that you brought this transformation, transformative governance, and we will be acting on this to get it right. And just to just sort of kind of summarize what you say on my fingers, and quality economics. I don't think you know these terms. You know real economics, but I take it deliberately to finger economics tonight. So here we talk about agriculture, manufacturing, and about the human resource. These are three components of growth. Here you are, agriculture, manufacturing, education. You have two more remaining. You have the index finger, which you always see. We always say that is an index finger, that is a real finger to point at this component of growth, which means that good policy issues, and that's what we talk about. The government will have the policy directed at this growth. Here it is to put it down on it. This policy is going to embrace the policies are going to embrace components of growth, and the form will represent the people. They're going to embrace the policies of the government and the components of growth. We have a we are going to work. That is what I'm saying there. We need to close this hand and to have a work. So I get that, I get it. And it is very important that we are not to make decisions. The government before that there's nothing more to do than sell passports. And we've seen we have not actually realized the benefits of it. That's about it as well too, is that the government has not made the time to actually to cross-subsidize some of the sectors in terms of when the revenue was coming in for CBI to sort of invest it in the other sectors. Today, as CBI is going down, the other sectors should be going up. And that's what it's called cross-subsidization. And so we understand that, and you've been at the helm, and you've been an economist, you understand that very well. So policy decision is very important to allow people to invest. The human resource to build them, which means that we have to have capacity with the skills, and to ensure that people embrace that. So you have technocrats in that, you have the farmers, you have the young people who will be digitized with respect to training. They'll be looking at gadgets, getting delicate laptops, getting delicate digital gadgets to actually take data and to do forecasting, and so they'll be involved in disease forecasting, crop forecasting, so that we can know the amount we have in the. And Doc, I'm feeling excited, and let me just read some of what the people are saying there, because it's really, really getting excited now. Really, really getting excited now. So Dominica someone is saying that Dominica is an underdeveloped nation. It is too heavily taxed by way of payroll tax, income tax, property tax, sales tax, which they refer to as corporate tax, VAT. Do you plan on removing some of this tax burden on the people of Dominica? And if so, which of the above taxes will you eliminate? Well, you just talk about it, but you will brief on it again. Somebody saying there, what about getting mangoes directly from the US and Canada on the Canadian market? I know Jamaica recently got their Julie mangoes on the US market. I know getting through the USDA, which is the United States Drug and Administration, is tough, but is anyone looking into that? I'm sure a good Julie mango can sell here for at least $6 US. So Doc, here it is already that the participants are actually making suggestions, and some of these suggestions have already been articulated by you.
Yes, indeed. And, And in terms of what the taxes that we're looking at, we cannot say definitively at this stage which of the taxes we are going to do. It's a work in progress. We are working on a comprehensive package, but it will involve some tax cuts. It will involve the removal of some fees and some duties and overall streamlining this so that you don't have all of those tax upon tax. Because what we have in Dominica is a very unfair system where you pay a duty. And a good example of this is on the port. So you import something from overseas. Let's say it costs $5. When it gets to Dominica, you pay the insurance and the freight. And then you pay this range of duties. You pay tailgate, you pay different duties and different fees on that. All of that is added. And then you are taxed VAT on top of that. Okay. This is a lot of double taxation. If the item costs $5, that's what you should be paying the tax on. So there are different ways where you can cut down on the price of the final product to the consumer. So this is something that we're looking at, because at the heart of that policy is how do we bring relief to the Dominican public? How do we make the lives of the Dominican people easier? How do we remove the pain and the suffering of our Dominican public? These are the things and these are the concerns that we have, and that is what will be driving us. Yes, government has to maintain its revenues because it needs to pay public workers, and at the same time, if you're streamlining government, then you don't have as a huge a tax bill. Government has to get anywhere from $9 to $10 million every month to pay public servants. If the majority of that is no longer part of government because you now have all of those jobs within the private sector, you can have savings there. You cut down on the size of the government, you cut down the number of ministers from 19 to 8 or 9. You have huge savings there. So you're making savings within government that will allow you that space to be able to lower the taxes. So while I cannot say exactly which and by how much we're going to reduce those taxes, the commitment that I can give now is that we are looking at it to ensure that at the end of the day, we provide relief to the Dominican public in the form of lower taxes, lower duties, lower fees, and the immediate and complete removal of this 10,000 levy that is placed on the Dominican public. There is no need for that. It's even placed on motorcycles. Even persons bringing the motorcycles, I mean, one gentleman told me so that he felt like when he got his bike, he was so excited. But when he went to the port to clear it and they told him the amount he had to pay,
he doesn't have to there.
Most 10 times the amount he paid for it originally, he felt like he was throwing it in the sea. He was so disappointed, and he was like, where are you going to get that kind of money? He forgot to check. He did not check before how much. He was in St. Martin. He saw a nice bike, a nice price, and figured he would just buy it. And when he got to Dominica, he could not believe the kind of pressure, the kind of money that he had to come up with. And he just felt like just throwing in the sea, just getting rid of it. So that is where we are with a government that really cares less about the pain and the suffering of the Dominican public. And what compounds all of this also is just the tremendous amount of money that already goes into duty free. But that duty free is selective. It's not, for example, when we give duty free to everybody building. So you said, okay, if you're going to build within the next 2 years, all your material imported will be duty free, so that it benefits everybody. That's what the government is doing. They bring duty free to their friends who might bring in an SUV worth $200,000, and they say, well, okay, we'll give you the duty free on that because you support us. Maybe you provide to our campaign, so you get duty free. But the individual who is struggling to work in the office for $1,500, who really needs a ride because they're a nurse and they have to work the night shift, or their fire have to work the night shift, and they need that ease of transport, they've been forced to pay a $10,000 levy and they get no relief. So we have a very subjective type of duty-free regime in Dominica, which we'll put an end to, by the way. That if you're going to give duty-free incentives, it has to be for everybody. It doesn't have to be approved by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has more important things to do than sitting there approving duty-free entries. That will be handled by competent staff with set criteria so that anybody can question it if they don't get. If you meet that criteria, you can question why, and you have some redress. So these are some of the things that we have really put in place to make it easier for the Dominican public. Because the more I talk to the people in Dominica, the more I reach out to the various villages, the more I step into the shops and converse with Dominica. And now I'm a well-known face in Dominica that from the time I step on the street, somebody recognizes me. There is a conversation to be had. And the more I have these conversations, is the more I understand the need for us to put into action these 10 pillars. Is the more I understand the critical importance of doing this to better the lives of the Dominican public. And that is what this is all about. That's what is so exciting. That is what is capturing the imagination of the Dominican public, that we have something in place that will benefit them, something that will do good for the economy, and a plan that will, at the end of the day, put money into the pockets of the Dominican public. And you cannot beat that plan. Absolutely not. And we're very excited about it. I'm very happy that the people of Dominica are buying into this. And that's why we have programs like this. So we can spend the time, we can interact with the Dominican public and let them know exactly what we plan to do for them to improve their lives and to make this country a better place to live in.
Yes, and one person is saying they're great ideas. Dominica has so much money having potential, but has been held back for have been held back on purpose. And that is true. That is very true. Someone saying that that's exactly what we want to hear, how to move Dominica's economy from the abyss so that Dominicans can live with financial comfort. Another person saying there, yes, agriculture and water. We have enough water to tap into and market at a cheaper price for export. Our good spring water is in abundance and it's wasting away. Just imagine our beer has not been returned for manufacturing. What a damn shame. Mr. Fontaine, continue your great mission for the betterment of our people and country. The Almighty God bless you and this country going forward. Because, Doc, it's very important, because this is very important. Earlier on, you made the point, and just as you were talking, someone texted me and he said, look, so I'm telling you the right thing. Tell Doc, I appreciate the work that he's doing. He's not even in government. But just the produce that he purchases every week from the farmers on the east, that person is saying, I'm able to be employed at least for a day, going to help harvest and to bag the dash in. And for sure, I'm setting up a breakfast, I'm setting up a lunch and a supper. And so just what you are doing in a small way and you're not in government, imagine the impact when government resources are mobilized into the whole development thrust of our nation. And Doc, you must take credit for this because these little things have impact and people are telling the real stories. They are real stories. It is not something of fiction that is happening. That is real time making money out of an initiative of just buying the farmer's produce. And otherwise, the person is telling me again, let me make sure I see it, that if the produce had not been bought, then you know what is going to happen? Then it would have been wasted in the field. No revenue. And you're saying the actually domino effect of the dollar is that when the farmer pays me, the farmer gets paid from you, the farmer pays me, I go to the supermarket gets something.
Yes,
the supermarket can pay his or her worker, and it goes on and on and on.
Yes, and so depending on the size of the farmers' holdings, these individuals that help to harvest the dashing can get 2 days at $150. So if every week you're getting 2 days at 150, that's 4 by 3. That's already $1,200 just by working on the weekends, right?
Yes.
So we understand totally, completely that there is money to be made in agriculture. And that's the reason why we are pursuing that very, very hard.
Okay. I hope there's an echo. I'm being told now that been brought to my attention that there's an echo. I hope the volume maybe let me see if I can. Is the echo all right now, Martin? Thanks for monitoring the output for us. But someone is saying, the Martin again, say, I look forward to see our mangoes with the U.S. market. I'm tired of eating mango avote, you know. And
And it's
well,
very a shame, man. All these mangoes wasting, so
yeah.
thousands and thousands of mangoes all over the country. Waste, waste,
But
waste.
I noticed we are taking it a step forward in with respect to how you're talking about it. Yes, you'll get your real time mango as a fruit, but also we're talking about the pulping, canning, and
And
selling
even
of
dry it.
preserving
You know,
and
you
drying.
can dry the
Exactly. We have
mango.
mango
Yeah,
can
yeah.
you can
Dry it,
dry it.
bag.
So they have different adding value. So there are many ways that you can enjoy the mango. So yes, your candies will be your mango candies obviously will be or confectionaries will be sent to you for sure. That's a good point.
Absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
So that's what you're going to do. I seen some other these are the bread and butter issues that you need to speak about at the press conferences. These are the issues that matter to people. And our own very nept packet is saying there. I heard Clarence Christian mention that the reason why the government cannot provide any concession for the price of gas is because the population is so small and we do not have enough consumption. Yet our import bill is in the millions. Who is consuming these imports, Doc? Do you have the answer to that?
Who is consuming those imports? Well, I mean, a good example of this, we consume about $7 million worth of chicken every year in Dominica, right? Just chicken. So there is a healthy consumption appetite. Obviously, particularly everything is brought in. We have very little substitution there. Clothing, furniture, appliances, basic items, all of that is coming in. So yeah, we have a very healthy consumption, and that's really a leakage because that is money that's going back out
Yes.
because we are, it's consumption in the form of imports, which is a leakage. You see, so yeah, it's true consumption should be adding to our gross domestic product, but if it's coming for imports, it cancels out.
It cancels out. It cancels out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't forget the things that we are speaking of right now. Do not forget that we've had some trade with respect to that going to the UK market. I don't even remember when you had that when you had the lime industry moving forward. You used to have a UK company, people were expected to become the juice that
El Rose, El Rose.
Rose, right. I remember
Mhm.
bathing as a little boy in the river, and when El Rose, the only thing I don't like right now, because I understand environmental issues, I don't like the way it was, indiscriminately, the waste was indiscriminately sort of dumped into the Rose River. Because you could know when El Rose now had a production line done, because oftentimes when the waste will see the old pot coming down, the old grapefruit coming down, the old limes coming down in the river. So that was a means of disposal. It wasn't very good. I don't think at the time that they integrated it with the animal husbandry because limes could be consumed by the animals and all of the waste, the grapefruit could, be consumed, the waste or the old ones and so. So that you have that sort of sustainable way of doing things
Mhm.
whereby they go back and to organic matter and so that would be useful for the plants. Now we understand that we'll integrate these things because as we go forward we'll learn and we know what to do. But it's encouraging doc to see how we do these things. So I know we have had that, so this will come back, and Dominica is blessed and endowed with the land that God has given us, and we have to make maximum use of it. And someone is saying there, Martin, again, is saying that I was in awe when to hear such, buffoonery, what is it? Buffoonery from Clarence Christian. Our population is small, but the voters list currently consists of 74,000. How convenient is that? And the point is, that's a good point about the population is small. Doc, you have said before, the smaller the population is the better things could be done for everybody. And the point is, it's not just talking about the population is small. The reason why the population is shrinking because people are not finding alternative economic ways to survive. So they are going. But with the policies that you are putting forward with respect to the 10 pillars, that itself will retain the youth, will retain Dominicans. Dominicans don't need to live to go anywhere because there will be opportunities available to them. And that's one of the reasons over the years that we have been small as a population. The economy has not been incentivized. People are not getting proper pay, too many bills to pay, and the salary is constant, no increase in nothing. Only persons who get increase is the government. And so, Doc, we really appreciate that kind of work you're doing, and you need to really
Yes,
echo that over again.
And so I think that comment, I happened to hear the comments of Mr. Christian, and he was trying to explain that the Dominican economy is really solid, and he talked about gross domestic product. You calculate it by looking at consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports. And he was saying, well, what's driving the economy is government investments. But again, as you build international airports, yeah, it's true the government investment spending is going up, but there's a major leakage because you're importing everything. You're importing the cement, you're importing the steel, you're importing the workers, you're importing the food to feed the workers. Right. So yes, government revenue, government investment is up, but the minus imports is causing that to negate it. So the impact that we normally have is not there. Uh, It's basic and as simple as that. All right. So that's the reason why, even with this major investment in Dominica, your growth is still struggling to make 3%.
That's right.
Whereas we need growth of anywhere from 7 to 8% to create a solid middle class, to allow people to gain wealth, to earn, so that they have money to pass on. We call that generational wealth. That when parents pass on, they have money and property that they can leave to their children. That is what we are talking about. That's what we do not have in Dominica because of these policies of this government. And that is what we're going to change. And that's what the Dominican public need to understand. And as I talk about that, we had a very important and very interesting discussion with a young NEP worker over the weekend. And the NEP worker is making about $700 a month. And his friends were talking to him and said, but why do you keep saying that you will not vote for the United Workers' Party? Why you don't want to vote for the Workers' Party? He says, well, he's sure of his $700. Right? But then the guys were, and I'm just listening to the conversation, they're telling him, but $700 can do nothing for you. You have the United Workers' Party talking about putting money in your pocket, talking about, building factories. Imagine if they build a factory in this community and you get a job. You're not going to be getting $700. And these are the kind of conversations that we are forcing now on the Dominican public, so that the young people are confronting each other. They are talking about what it is the United Workers' Party plan to do. And I'm very happy to hear that. I was very pleased because it's a movement away from, the personal type of politics that we have in Dominica. Now people are beginning to look at real options. NEP option of $700 a month versus a factory in your community that can give you a job for $1,500, $2,000 a month. Which one do you choose? So I'm very happy that we're able to put that kind of conversation to the public, that the public are listening, that they're taking notes, and they're ready to make that change. And that to me is the exciting part of all of this. The excitement that is growing around the United Workers' Party government that can bring change to the people of Dominica. And so that's why, quite frankly, we're having all of that diversity. Because the more you progress, the more that there is that vision that is catching on, is the more you're going to get interference and challenges. And that's how I see the issues around the United Workers' Party as mere challenges that we have to deal with and continue to move on, continue to provide to the Dominican public an alternative to what we have now.
Yes, certainly. And the Dominican people have no doubt that you are able to execute. You have helped nations around the world, and we must applaud you for this work. No one is going to call a no into the game. Somebody call a yes into the game. And so you have the know-how, you are knowledgeable, and since you have been called to help other nations outside of Dominica with bigger population, and they have been successful, the point is we have no doubt that you can at least do that for your country. And we have always said, and everyone is making a sacrifice. And it's not just trying to blow my trumpet again. I know you could have just said to the people, look, man, I'm an economist. well renowned. I could get I can be employed anywhere in the world. I'm living. But you want to give back to your country with the team around you and many persons will support you, so persons in diaspora. So we want to give back. All of us want to give back. And so we really appreciate the support that the people in the diaspora are giving and the local Dominicans the effort they are making. We are going to do it this time. Dominicans don't want labor. The last time I remember anybody had an increase in Dominica, it was a very Labour Party government. They took 52% for themselves on their salary. They give themselves $1,000 for health and plenty money for mileage to support their vehicles, driving and so on. So they are not concerned about Dominicans. They are concerned about themselves. And so the people continue to suffer. The business people continue to suffer. Small businesses continue to close. And it's just a problem. We are in dire straits. We are in dire straits. And so we need to rid ourselves from this sort of, hardship. And I'm seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And so I'm asking Dominican, Doc, and as we talk about it, confirmation is very important. New registration is very important. We are relying on the young people to show their support, the first-time voters. We're encouraging you to get confirmed. If you are not able to get confirmed within that period of confirmation, once the time is closed, you'll have to go and re-register to be a new voter. So in the meantime, your name is on the register. Please go to your respective constituencies and get confirmed. We are actually on the ground, mobilizing, getting people to confirm, showing them what is required, telling them what is required of them to do to get the necessary documentation and documents to get confirmed. So we continue to do that. But there's so much we can do. You need to respond to the call. Do this. And so, Doc, as we're about to close this program, we would like to hear your parting words because it takes me to see Dominica going down. And Dominicans know exactly what to do when the time comes. They know how to respond to their mother when their mother speaks to them, their father, their uncle. How can you not respond to a government that has been that continues to direct its policies not in your favor? So you know what to do on election day. So Dr. Thomson Fontaine is here, the leader of the United Workers' Party. He's trying his best. We are all trying our best. And so, Doc, you want to hear it again, that, your commitment, you know that you're doing it, but I just can't stop emphasizing that. It's not something I like to say. By the way, you're not a Superman. You alone cannot do it. You have a team. But I want to thank you for giving yourself to Dominic. Yes.
Indeed, I mean, the more time I spend with the people of Dominica, the more time I spend in the villages, going around Dominica, talking to people, is the more I understand the tremendous burden that our party bears, because we have a responsibility to the people of Dominica who are putting their confidence and the trust in us to do the right thing. And the right thing means to govern well. The right thing means to have a zero tolerance for corruption. The right thing means not to enrich ourselves at the expense of the Dominican public, not to take almost $70,000 a month just for one person to live comfortably while some people's roofs quite clearly are beginning to leak. Today is the first day of the hurricane season. It's going to be raining almost every day. I must tell you sadly that there are people in my country who are not looking forward to the hurricane season because they know that constant rain, leaking, they have to put buckets to catch the rain. They have put plastic to kind of keep the water away from wetting their children at night. These are some of the real issues, some of the real things that confront us here in Dominica. And we have all of that while we have a prime minister who sleeps comfortably at night, comfortable taking $64,000 of the taxpayer dollars to pay his rent and to sleep. So we, Dominica is as Charles Dickens says, a tale of two communities or two sets of people. One that live comfortable lives, those within government in particular, at the expense of the Dominican public, because no government job can give you that kind of wealth, no government can give you that kind of opportunity. So you take it from the taxpayer dollars so that you can justify the payment of $64,000. And you have that against the number of persons, some of whom have to go to sleep at nights without a roof over their heads. And that's the situation that we face in Dominica. Or if there's a roof, it's leaking.
Yes,
People have to sleep with buckets to collect water coming through the holes in the roof. That is the reality of our Dominican. That is what we want to change. That is what this whole 10 pillars is all about, is to provide an opportunity for the Dominican public to be able to earn money, to gain wealth, and then to have generational wealth so that when they live this life, they have something to give unto their children. That is what we're offering the Dominican public. It's a solid alternative to what we now have. We're talking about moving away from poverty, away from that constant struggle that you have to depend upon a pal rep for some kind of relief every month, to people working for themselves, working in the agriculture sector, working in the manufacturing sector, working in our essential oil sector, working in the fishing sector, in marketing, in all of those opportunities that we're going to create within the private sector. That is what we're offering to the Dominican public in stark contrast to what is here now for the Dominican public. And that's the reason why every day we continue to attract new persons. That's the reason why this president of the Labour Party for over 20 years cannot put up his hand and say, I'm done with that, I'm done with Labour, that I can now focus on United Workers' Party and helping United Workers' Party win the next election. And so we are very happy for that, happy for the number of persons who continue to come on board with us. Let me say we respect you, we understand your need, and we are working very hard to ensure that we do well and that we do good by you when we assume this governance of Dominica. So exciting days are ahead. So as I said, we are reintroducing the outreach to the Dominican public in the month of June. We'll be out there with our loudspeakers. We'll be out there with our public meetings. We'll be out there with a message, a positive message of growth and development to the Dominican public. And we want you to join us. We'll announce where we will be as we plan, but definitely we'll be starting in June to get out there with the message of hope, with the message to the Dominican public, one we are sure that they'll be proud to and happy to hear.
yes. So I have another message here from someone who says Labour Party is neutralizing the young people by placing them in minimal jobs. But we must quote the Constitution, which states that the government must organize an economic system that will create opportunities for every citizen to be prosperous. No one is making them a favor by placing them in a job, but they must take note of the loss of their freedom to speak their mind, freedom to wear what they want, freedom to question the government, etc. Governance is not about personal favors, but it's about building a society where the people can achieve their goals. With that said, let me say a special good night to everyone. And we have on our screen there, we said before that we continue to do the work. We are helping you to get through this. We are your voices. You must help us to help you. So we are saying, look, we continue to fight for Dominica. A number of our citizens are before the court. A number of our political opponents, our political members are before the court. And we are saying that we need the support financially to continue to pay the lawyers, to continue to put the legal bill. And so our mobile banking ID is 555-2242, and the account number is 1005636. You could also go online and visit uwp-dominica.com, click on donation, and give generously. So I just want to repeat again, mobile ID 555-2242. Our account number is 1005636. You can also go online at the website, uwp-dominica.com, click on donation, and give us something so we can continue the work of the people of Dominica. So we want to thank every one of you who participated in this program tonight. It has been real tough with our political leader, Dr. Thomson Fontaine. Tonight we revisited the tax reform and what it is that are important, what it is that is important to do for the people of Dominica so that they can benefit. and they can see at least some more money go in their pocket, more disposable income. And so we have a plan. We are ready. We are ready to govern. We have the ability. We have the know-how. We have the human resource. And we are not talking about just us. Human resource involves all of Dominicans. In the diaspora, we need to hinge on the diasporan resources, the expertise, so that we can build Dominica holistically. Dominica is for all of us to build. With that said, let me say a special good night to everyone. Until next time, we say good night. Till next Monday. Have a good night, Doc. Have a good night.
Yeah, good night. Good night.
Thank you.